Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via YouTube streaming, via Facebook streaming, and also via Skype group. Each one of you is welcomed to live streaming. Life is divine. Life is divine, but the problem comes in because of the mind. Mind has a basic law. Excuse me. Mind has a basic law that it cannot move to the opposite very easily. If mind is unhappy, it cannot seek happiness in anything. It is not easy for the mind to move to the opposite. However, it cannot remain in the middle either. It cannot move to the opposite and it cannot remain in the middle. Balance is the most difficult thing for the mind. Balance is the most difficult thing for the mind. Extremes are always easy. Mind can remain in either of the extreme things. Extremely happy, extremely ecstatic, or extremely sad. But to conceive of a state when there is no happiness, no sorrow, equivalence, equanimity, that is most difficult for the mind. Because it is plagued with desires. Desire to be this, to be that. In that there remains a chaos and it cannot attain to equanimity. When there is no desire, everything stops. Everything stops when there is no desire. There is no movement, because movement comes because of the desire. You want to attain to this, there is a movement, the process begins. And when there is no desire, there is no movement, the time comes to cessation. Time stops, future drops, past is no more. Past disappears, future drops, past disappears, only the moment remains. And which moment? This very moment that is in front of you remains, and everything else comes to cessation. Remember, mind finds it difficult to move to the opposite. That is the basic law of the mind. It can remain in extreme situations, but it cannot dwell in the middle. But life is divine. In fact, life and God are synonymous. There is no God except life, and there is no life except God. God and life are two terms for the same mystery. Yes, I use the word mystery. God is mysterious, life is mysterious. You have not seen life, you see its manifestation in different forms. You do not see God, but you see its manifestation, myriads of manifestations. This is what Tao is. It is mysterious. It cannot be encompassed in words. Cannot be encompassed in words, but it manifests myriad of things. Let me give you an interesting thing. While introspecting the language, the alphabet, let's analyze two alphabets. English language, it has 26 letters. The first letter is A and the last letter is Z. A for apple. It starts with a fruit, apple. And the last letter of the English alphabet is Z. Z stands for zebra. The English alphabet is a movement from fruit to animal. Two things are there. First, you can say that it ends up making you animal. But animal is a symbol of innocence. Fruit is a desire, need. You can give it your own meaning to it. Hindi language has 49 letters. It starts with A. A means unpad, illiterate, uneducated, uneducated. And the last letter is Gyan. That comes, from this comes the word Gyani. Gyani means learned, the wise. Journey from illiterate to learned is the essence of Hindi alphabet, and according to me the essence of English alphabet is apple, a fruit, to zebra, the innocence. Life is divine. There are two things. You have heard of written word. In Hindi we call it lekhni, that which is written. There is another word that I am coining, bolni, the word that is spoken. Usually there remains a diversity. The spoken words cannot be the written word. There remains the difference between the two. Your speech and writing differ from one another. When there is oneness, there is harmony, there is rhythm between the two, life moves in a totally different direction. It becomes a life divine. When your speech, bolni and lekhni, and the written, the speech and the writing becomes synonymous with one another. Life becomes divine. So these two terms, God and life, are synonymous. But for centuries, religious people have been against life. They were living with the idea that to choose God, you have to renounce life. Renounce life, you have to sacrifice life in order to attain to God. This is utter nonsense. But because of the conditioning, millions of people could not be religious because they could not renounce life. That was the condition. To be spiritual, you have to renounce life. It is your very being. Life is your very being. How can you renounce it? Only very few people who were neurotic became religious, and healthy person remained unreligious. Religious people created such barriers for the healthy that only the ill, the mentally perverted could get into it. My whole effort is to destroy that whole nonsense and the conditioning so that you can learn to love and respect life. You have to learn to love and respect life. Initiation is not renunciation of life, instead a tremendous love affair with life. Bhaat, the Sufi terminology. Diksha, the Hindi terminology. It is that you are moving into a different direction. You are on a different journey. Initiation is no way to be considered as renunciation of life. Instead, it is a tremendous love affair with life. The deeper you live, the closer you come to God. More intensely you live, more totally you live, you come close to understand life, you come close to understand the mysteries that God is, mysteries that life is. The more passionately, the more intensely, the more totally you live, the more divine you are. The intensity of your life and your liveliness, the intensity with which you live your life, the totality of life, the intensity with which you live your life is the way to reach God. Nothing has to be renounced. Everything has to be lived, but lived with deep awareness. Lived totally, lived with understanding, because escape is not the way of growth. Escape is not the way of growth. You have to understand this very clearly. Nothing has to be renounced. Everything has to be lived with deep understanding, lived totally and with awareness. Therefore, all who have escaped from life definitely remain psychologically immature. Maturity is in life. Maturity comes when you live life with an understanding, totally, intensely, and with awareness. Therefore, all those who have escaped from life remain psychologically immature. Maturity is in life in all its bitterness and sweetness. Life is not only bitter or sweet, instead it is an amalgam. It is a mixture of bitter and sweet. That's why you will realize when you are the taste which have all the flavors included into it. The sweetness, the saltishness, the bitterness, that tastes the best. That is why we use the sauce, the condiments, which have a little bit of sweetness, little bit of bitterness, little bit of sourness, little bit of saltishness, all blended together. Maturity is in life in all its bitterness and sweetness, in all its misery and joy, in all its nights and days, and then transcending the duality. And then transcending the duality. When will you learn to transcend from duality? And where would you learn the transcendence from duality? By renouncing life. One has to learn through these polarities to move alert and conscious. You have to go through these polarities so that one can remain balanced between the two, exactly in the middle. Life is in the middle between two polarities, and that is what, in fact, the art of being in between the two polarities is initiation, is birth. It is not a ritual. People come and they want to get initiated in whatever system, whatever way of a spiritual life you are into, the Sufi, the Hinduism, otherwise. Initiation is the beginning that you are learning to be amidst the polarities in the middle. To be in the middle means to be in the moment. The future drops, the past disappears, only this moment remains. This is what initiation is. It is not renunciation, it is enjoying life, rejoicing life, of course. Rejoicing with a different quality than the ordinary people live it. Ordinary people live life as a sleepwalker. Have you ever given the milk or anything to eat or drink by waking you up in the middle, and in the morning you say that I did not drink that? This is how we live our life. A different quality than the ordinary people. Ordinary people live life unconsciously, and an initiate lives life totally consciously. That is the only difference. Otherwise, both live the same life. You eat food, Buddha eats food. You are eating to live. Buddha is eating to live, because food is necessary for the survival, for the maintenance of the body. But the unconscious lives to eat. And that's the difference. A life lived intensely, totally, will take you one day beyond all dualities, beyond all conflicts, beyond the past and the future, and will establish you in the middle. Once you learn the art of being in the middle, once you have learned the art of being available to the moment, simple thing you try to do. Eating is one of the most important acts that we do at least 2 or 3 times for the day. Introspect on what are you talking about at that moment. The food is in front of you, a platter full of delicious food, nutritious food that can satiate you, and you remain engaged in the talks of something else that is not there. Something of the event of the past or of the future. You have a morsel in your mouth, next one in your hand, and where your eyes are fixed on what is on the platter. What we do while one morsel is in the mouth, the fingers are constantly working on preparing the next morsel. So before that morsel finishes in the mouth, the next one flutters in. Is this the way? When the morsel is finished, you have chewed it properly, then you prepare the next morsel. You engage. Last time when we went to that particular restaurant or what we ate by those people, the food was really excellent and very tasty. When you were actually in the moment and the food was in front of you, you were talking of something else. This is how we live our life. Just become a little conscious of it, introspect at the moment when the breakfast is in front of you. Are you imbibing the quality, nutritional value of the food that is in front of you? Or you have moved away either to the unborn future or the past that is no more. Initiation means you are now entering into a different quality of life, living totally conscious, and then your every moment becomes divine, your life becomes divine. Only this much for this morning. Until tomorrow, take care and do have a pleasant day.